This is a little number talk that I like to do before we divide decimals. You don't have to write with me. You can actually just watch this video, but writing is a way to remember. So if it's something that you would like to do, you certainly can. It doesn't necessarily need to be in your notes or anything, but just writing is a way to remember. So I'm going to go kind of quick since it's just me writing. If you need to pause it, you certainly can as well. If I ask you 37 times 10, what's the answer? A lot of people can think, oh, there's a 10 here, there's a 0. So it's like taking 37 times 1, and then you put a 0 on. So 37 times 10 becomes 370. Well, what happens if I take 37 times 100? What do you think your answer is? Most people say 37 times 1 is 37, and now there's 2 zeros. So you could say 3,700 or 3,700. Now I'm going to put in a decimal. Then what do you think 3.7 times 10 is? And I'm going to give you a chance to look at that one. Your answer is going to be 37. And you're like, how does that work? Well, every time you're multiplying by 10, a power of 10, the decimal is essentially moving over one place. So 37, it's like it moved over one place to get 370. When it was 37 times 100, it had to move over two places to get 3,700. 3.7, the decimal still moves over one place, and your whole number of the decimal is like right there. You still get 37. So what if I take 0.37 times 100? See, you have two zeros there. So it's like taking the decimal, moving it over two places, and now you get the answer 37, and now your decimal would be there. So when you multiply by a power of 10, your numbers always get bigger by 1 0 or 2 zeros if it's 100. Even when there's a decimal, it's still getting bigger by a power of 10. So that kind of makes sense when multiplying. So now I want you to think, what about dividing? What happens when you're dividing? So if I give you 0.8 divided by 0.4, remember they cross, 0.8 goes on the inside. So I have 0.8 divided by 0.4. Well, when you're dividing with decimals, you cannot have a decimal out here on the outside. You want to make it a whole number. So I essentially need to like move this over one place so that it's right here. It's like taking it times 10. And if you move the outside by 10, you move the inside by 10, and you never really even change the problem. And now you're really looking at 8 divided by 4 goes in 2 times. I get exactly 8, subtract, and I'm done. My answer is 2, and that works. What if I give you an example, 0.88 divided by 0.44? 0.88 goes on the inside, the 0.44 goes on the outside. Now I have to have a whole number out here, so I have to multiply this one actually by 100 to move it over twice. If it's over here behind it, now I have a whole number. Whatever I do to the outside, I have to do to the inside. So I multiply this by a power of 100, and now the decimal is there. Just like when we were learning with division, you bring your decimal straight up in your answer, it's still there. Kind of like 2, the decimal was behind it. 2 point, it's still 2. So how many times does 44 go into 88? 2 times, that gives you 88, and you're down to zeros. Your answer is 2. Let's try another example. What if I say 8 divided by 0.4? 8 divided by 0.4. I can't have a decimal on the outside. I need a whole number. So I'm going to move it over once. It's like taking it times 10. Whatever you do to the outside, you have to do to the inside so that the problem doesn't change. Where is the decimal on 8? You think it's a whole number. You think money. It's actually already behind it. You still have to move it over one, and it's here. Decimal goes straight up in your answer. But what do you notice about this place value? You have to put a 0 there. So how many times does 4 go into 8? 2 times. I get 8. Bring down this 0. How many times does 4 go into 0? 0 times, but this 0 matters right there. 0 times 4 is 0, and I still end up with zeros. But 4 times 20 would give me 80, so you got to make sure you write 20 there and not 2. The last example I have I would like you to do with me is 8.8 divided by 4. 8.8 goes on the inside. Divide by 4 on the outside. What do? 4 is a whole number. There is no decimal. Oh, well then that's normal. I'm ready to just bring this decimal straight up into my answer. How many groups of 4 go into 8? 2. Gives me 8. Subtract. Bring down this 8. How many groups of 4 go into that 8? 2 more. I get 8 and 0. This answer is 2.2. This one didn't have a decimal on the outside, so we didn't have to move any decimals. We just brought it straight up into our answer. And knowing this will help us when we get into dividing decimals.